Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us and thanks for coming today. Katie and I are here to talk to you about precision input and preferred output, our experience building a high-performing RAG chatbot. My name is Ian Matheson. I'm the Director of Data Systems at Powerex. In that role, I manage a team of data engineers and manage our Snowflake data platform. I also manage a team of application developers building applications for market risk, credit risk, and finance. That's my role.
And I'm Katie Haney. I'm a manager at Snowflake in our solution innovation team. We specialize in AI/ML, and I've been at Snowflake for probably 5 years now, and Ian and I have worked together for around 3, I think. So yeah, welcome.
So before we get into the technology, who is Powerex? Powerex is the energy trading arm of BC Hydro. BC Hydro is the public utility in British Columbia, Canada. We're based out of Vancouver, BC. And we buy and sell electricity, natural gas, and renewable products on behalf of the province. In terms of our size, we're a fairly small company. We're only about 230 people, and over half of that is IT. So we have a lot of developers building to support a small number of traders, analysts, and credit and market risk. Despite being small, as the host said, we move a lot of energy in the West. So we move about 22 terawatt hours of energy a year. That's enough power to power about 2 million homes for a full year. So we're a major player in the West in the energy space. Now, everyone's here for Snowflake. So in terms of data, how big are we? Well, we're about 122 terabytes on Snowflake of structured data across about 5,000 tables. And our rate of change is fairly high. We have about 2 billion rows of data change per day. So that's who Powerex is. And we'll talk mainly today about unstructured data and chatbots. But I'll let Katie introduce her team first.
All right, thank you. And for the solution innovation team, for anyone who hasn't heard about us, what our team really does and our goals are is to put customer use cases in production. Now, one of the things that we do that is a little bit special is that we come into our customer environments and we build these solutions for you. For my team, we specialize in AI/ML, so our kind of key features that we try to help customers adopt and accelerate is the Cortex suite of features and also the Snowflake ML. And if we end up getting a repeatable framework for this, well, even better, because that means all of our other customers, like you guys, get to experience that as well. So what's on our agenda today? Ian is going to tell us a little bit about the business objectives, tell us why, he chose Snowflake to build the solution together, and I'll go into a little bit of the architecture and the build process, and then Ian's going to wrap us up with some benefits and challenges. So, Ian?
Perfect. Thanks, Katie. So what was our business objective? Well, you can read the top line there. To better leverage the wealth of unstructured data to improve corporate knowledge of markets and energy industry. I feel like that's probably something that everybody here has thought about. Everyone has a lot of unstructured data in their organization. And with the progress of AI, everyone's trying to figure out, how do I make that more of an asset to my organization? So what does that mean for Powerex? So the electricity markets are very complex. They're regulated at the municipal level all the way up to the federal level across Canada and the US. The markets are structured like here in California and unstructured in the Pacific Northwest. And so it's a really hard market to learn and understand. And on top of just the regulation, regular day-to-day events that you know of impact the energy industry. So when there's a fire somewhere, when there's adverse wind, the rise of data centers, renewables, EVs, all of these things impact the energy industry, both in the acute short term and in our long-term planning. So the challenge we have is, how do we grow the knowledge base of employees in our organization? The picture there on the left is there for a reason. That's a picture of our actual trade floor. And I would say the way we've done this historically is we say, how can we get more people around the epicenter of activity, where they kind of grow and learn by osmosis? They hear our traders who've worked in the industry for 20 years talk about the news and how it's impacting them, which is fantastic, but that model is obviously very hard to scale. So our objective was to build a Powerex chatbot that uses a custom retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, to help our employees ask questions of unstructured data that we have. Now, what does this unstructured data look like? We're looking at a subset for this use case. We call that subset the energy and the news. We have a team that curates relevant news articles that are relevant for the business and sends it out to people. That can be very helpful, but it's really just a point in time. You're getting a news article that happened today or yesterday. But what if you wanted to ask a question to say, when was the last time this particular type of event happened? What impact do you think it will have on something else? Has the sentiment on this topic changed over time? Those are the types of questions we wanted to be able to ask to this type of chatbot. So from the business objective, that's what we're trying to get. Putting my kind of data engineering manager hat on, from the technology side, we wanted to also just get our hands on this technology. There's a whole bunch of new patterns for reg and unstructured data that we needed to learn, and this was our first step into doing that. So why did we choose to do that on Snowflake? The first was our partnership. So we've been a Snowflake customer for, I think, going on 7 years. Katie and I have worked together on a number of engagements over those last few years, and we've had a strong partnership with them right from signing the contract with our account executives, our sales engineering team, and Katie's team. And it's something I would encourage you to do is engage with those people to get the most out of Snowflake. What we have found is when you engage with them, they find the right people to bring to the table to train and elevate your team. Everyone needs to get training on these things, and they bring their skills to the table, and they bring experience having actually deployed solutions in production and seen what other clients do. And that's often what we're always trying to find. What are other people doing in this space, and how do I learn from it? Second is the tooling. So being a Snowflake shop for 7 years, all of our tooling for data is in Snowflake. It's in SnowSQL, stored procedures, functions, Snowpark, dynamic tables. And so we wanted to go where our skill set was. And Katie assured us that all the tooling we needed for this type of use case was in Snowflake. And so we were really excited to get to build it there. Number 3 is LLM providers. So as anybody who watches or tries to pay attention to the latest frontier models or who's first at coding and who's first at inference, and it's changing every day. And so we didn't want to have to go and try to license a new model every time one won out. We wanted to be in a place where the models would come to us and we could swap them in and out of our chatbot as a new one became available or a new one that fit our use case better became available. And Snowflake provides that. And then finally, governance. As anybody who's tried to get new platforms through security and infrastructure and get them implemented, get them governed properly, you have to do all of that often before you even start a use case. So by starting on a platform that's already kind of gotten the sign off and check mark internally, it allowed us to just work with Katie's team and start development right away and not need to go through any new things for governance. We already have patterns for deploying Streamlit. We already have patterns for users, and we could just apply those. So Katie, can you tell us about some of the features your team used in building this out?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about a couple of the key features. I won't go into all of them, so I'll just highlight 2 of the key features. But what we built with the RAG chatbot, traditionally with how we had been doing it previously, was, okay, we have a chatbot, we have a set of PDFs. Now we got to figure out how do we get the PDF, extract all the information, and load it into Snowflake. With this engagement, what we ended up doing was we used this parse document function that's already built into Snowflake. So it's really nice. All you have to do is stage all of your PDF files. You go, all right, I want to parse this document. There are 2 options. The layout option, which means, hey, I have some tables in my PDFs. I want to extract and keep kind of the structure of those tables. Or there's the OCR extraction, which is just like, give me all the freeform text. I'm good. We'll move on. So parse document was a key feature that we utilized, and it really helped us get the solution kind of up and running very quickly. The other feature that we leverage is this split text recursive character function. Again, it is built in. Prior to having this function being a built-in function in Snowflake, we had to write a UDTF. It was like very tedious, and then we ended up, it took a whole week just to write the function. This, it takes a few minutes, and it'll extract, it'll chunk all of your freeform text, and then put it in a nice little table format so it's ready to go into our Cortex search service. So let me dig a little bit deeper into the overall architecture and some of the nuances that we made in order to make our RAG chatbot performant. As you can see, what I love about Snowflake is that it is a simple architecture. So like we talked about previously, you have 2 built-in functions that go from PDF straight into tables, and it brings all of your freeform text in. Once you have everything in the table, it is a simple SQL call to create the Cortex search service, and that stands up your vectorized database. And on top of that, you get a nice little service that allows you to query against all of those records. So you ask your question, oh, what's going on in energy in this particular market? It will go and retrieve those things. And then to wrap it all up, all we had to do was put a Streamlit application right in the front so that now you have your chatbot experience, your own energy chatbot. Again, the architecture is simple. The ingestion is as easy as 1, 2, 3. And what we did that was a little bit more nuanced was Ian's team was kind enough to take all of these emails. By the way, have you ever converted an Outlook file into PDF? Yes? Okay. I don't think it's that trivial, but thank goodness Ian's team thought it was, and they did that for us. And on top of that, because of how these kind of emails are sent out, all of the articles are actually all on the same page. So Ian pre-split all of them into separate PDFs. So again, once you're in the PDF form, you stage it into Snowflake, and then we parse, document, we do the, recursive text split, recursive character function, and then boom, data in tables. But what made our solution really successful was actually adding in additional contextual data. So for each of these articles that we had, what was really important was, okay, we know that the RAG chatbot can kind of read over all of these chunks, right? And it'll return something that's relevant, that's semantically similar, or it'll do the keyword matching. But for us, what we wanted to do was give it a little bit of additional context. So for each of these articles, we wanted to know what publication did it come from. We wanted to take a look at, okay, when did this article get published? So how relevant is it really to the question I'm asking today? And then a couple additional data points, like topics and things like that. And how we did all of this was just using a simple Cortex complete function. So again, within this suite of tools that you already get in Snowflake. You might be thinking, well, why do I care about this additional context, right? And why do we want to add context at all? So let's say Ian is looking for information about weather. On the document level, it might just be a bunch of weather types of articles. But when we add that information, the search service has an easier time floating up those articles, just to start with. And then the second part of it is, well, what if we add additional context on the chunk level? So when we add, oh, maybe this chunk is really talking about how weather impacts energy consumption, or it's hot out, you got to turn the AC up. I don't know if you guys have spouses out there, but some of them get real upset about the energy bill when you turn the AC up. So those types of things you can insert as additional context so that when you do the search service, it does actually find it. And that's really what makes this so special, the contextual chunking for RAG. And again, the last thing that really powers our whole solution, right, is the Cortex search service. If you take a look at this image, you're looking at 25 lines of code max, right? And the power of this is it creates that search service. It allows you to stand up that vectorized database, and you have the ability to immediately start asking questions against the service, whether it's via an API or you want to do your simple SQL call, it's all there. And these are the set of features that power our chatbot. So wrapping it all up in a nice bow, what do? We put all of those search results inside a Cortex complete call to summarize all the research, all the things that get surfaced up, and then we expose the API to Streamlit app, and then all you have to do is just Streamlit in Snowflake, create a chatbot, and now you have your very own custom RAG solution. So, Ian, you want to wrap us up?
Perfect. So what were some of the benefits and lessons learned? Next slide. The first one is, why build a custom chatbot experience? There's lots of great chat experiences out there. There's a few reasons we look to do this. One is, we mentioned it before, but the ability to choose your own LLM. So as new LLMs come in, being able to swap that in, and also giving the users the ability to do that. What I've started to find is users are very opinionated on what chatbot they like for different things. So letting the users pick what chatbot they want to use or LLM under the hood. The second was customizing system prompts. One of the things our advanced users have learned is the system prompt makes a huge difference to the responses that you're going to get. So we actually put that in the hands of the users to say, if you want to tweak the system prompt, you can do that. You can save that in the database, and then it's kind of like your mini GPT almost. And then finally, search filters. It's great when the AI magically comes out from the search service with exactly what you're looking for, but there's times where search misses. There are times where it's better to just have filters to say, I only want news from the last 5 days in this search, or I only want news from one publication. And our users want that ability to just click a specific filter rather than leaving it to the search service to make sure it's doing things, properly. So that's one of the benefits. Next slide. From a data engineering perspective, there were some lessons learned from this, is that one is we will continue using Cortex Complete in our data engineering workloads. We think it's a great way to add context to unstructured or structured data. And the second thing is structured outputs. So when you're using Cortex Complete and you want to save it into a table, you want to have an expectation on what that output looks like. Structured outputs allow you to conform the results into a standard output, which is easier to consume. The third, multi-level metadata extraction. So Katie mentioned it, looking for metadata at the document level and then at the chunk level, and you could go even lower than that if you wanted, can be really helpful for getting out useful topics or pieces of information. And then finally, picking LLMs for the specific task. So if we're using our Cortex Complete to just say, what date was this article published? I don't necessarily need to use the biggest, smartest LLM out there. And we're actually going to look at using our larger LLMs to train or fine-tune a small LLM just on that type of data engineering. I want the data out of this article. It should be able to get it quite quickly. And last but not least, the road to success is always under construction. One of the things we wanted to mention is, in some ways, there's a lot of magic to AI, and then in other ways, they are still development projects. And one of the things we found going through this process is you need to manage the expectations of your stakeholders like you would any development program or project. There will be alphas that come out. There will be iterations needed to make it better. There will be features that need to be added. Don't expect first iteration has all the features, everything, and get it out the door. So this is for us very much a successful project, but a work in progress. We'll continue to build on this for this use case, but almost more importantly to Powerex, we want to take this use case and the lessons learned and apply it to our next questions and patterns that come our way.